we'd like to start with a topic and use this topic for the month of November. And the topic will be the interview. And we'd like to go into more depth about this interview process. And I say it and then we use a tilde view, which is sharing our views, having a conversation about our views. And this is really a primary way we teach in reflective meditation. And this conversation, it's a skill that we teach to other people to train them as teachers. It's something that can be learned. It's something that develops over time. This learnable capacity to listen and then ask a meditator a few questions about their experience. I used to think it was so mysterious. I would be like, oh, why did they ask that question? Or what are they seeing? How is the teacher seeing the Dharma in my experience? And I haven't even seen it yet. My experience is just flopsome and jetsam. It's like all over the place. I wasn't able to really value the multitude of the ways my mind worked within meditation. But because none of this is taboo in meditation, we are really left with a conversation about things that often don't make sense. The ways our mind creates pictures and images and sounds, the way it puts things together. And it's not always linear. So we really want to talk about this interview process. How do you talk about things that are not linear, that don't make sense, that really mysterious things happen when we meditate, strange things. We hear voices, we fly, we do similar to things that we do in dreams can happen in meditation. So that brings me to a teaching, and this is something I'm just going to drop in today. Some of you have heard it before. It's a teaching on Papanca. And Papanca is a Pali word. It's a Buddhist terminology that's described in many different ways. We describe it in our book as an add-on to what's happening. It's like an add-on to the dukkha of our life or the sukha of our life. The explanations we give, the ways we imagine the dukkha or sukha is real. So the traditional translation is that our minds have a tendency to proliferate. This is a tendency we have. We've been born with it. So how do we deal with this? It's often translated in a more negative valence, I would say, in some of the suttas. It's translated as exaggeration, obsession, reification, falsification, distortion, elaboration. Wow. I mean, really, you think of like, oh, what an interesting thing to be born with an organ, a sense organ that does this. But our minds can also be very creative and imaginative and intuitive. So there's other counterbalance points to some of that. So it leads me to the way I think of Papanca these days. It's our imagination of the unreal when it appears real to us. And that when it appears real to us is something that we have to take seriously. Because even if something is not exactly true, not exactly 100%, but it's hitting us as real, that's where we start a conversation. And we're not going to try to get rid of all of our Papanca, because we can't. And we're also not going to believe all of it. We're not going to ask you to believe all of it, ours and yours. But we are going to be sorting through it. So when you see conversations about a person's experience in meditation, it's really a way to help sort through and become more aware of the Papanca, of the imaginations, where they're leading us, how they have a hold upon us, and when they don't hold us so much, when they start to die a natural death, we no longer believe some of the things that we used to believe were real, or they don't affect us the same way. We want to validate that. We want to bring that out in a conversation. So one of the tenets that we have in our training of teaching teachers how to interview is to be easygoing and collaborative in your questioning. So part of the interview process is not of direction of an investigative journalist that's trying to get to the bottom of something. It's not to just make the Dharma points with exclamations and, try to teach you by, showing you something. It's more of an easygoing, collaborative discussion of which things can come out that keep your curiosity and kindness alive. I'm going to end here. We're going to have a lot more to say this month about the interview process.